I scratch my head like everybody else does. Like, why are they out here? They can't take care of themselves. They're gonna die. They are dying. You could see it.
The drug use, because that seems like that is a big factor here as well. Is that coming after becoming homeless? So the stage one is you become homeless and then the drug use, or does it normally recur the other way around?
That one, that one, people have become homeless because of drug addiction, because of alcoholism. For those things, not along with the divorce and death and stuff like that. But once you become homeless, when you're out here for a longer period of time, there's a certain code of ethics.
Yeah, that's what you said that kind
Yeah.
of piqued my interest.
And that's the part where if you're not addicted at one point, you will be if you stay out here too long. You can only isolate yourself away from people, and now the homeless population is growing. It's not shrinking. And basically, you can't stay away from a homeless person. You're going to come in contact with a homeless person someplace, especially if you're another homeless person. So it's really like a catch-22, just the whole thing. It's like, did the chicken cross the road to get the egg? Or which one was born first? Or, it's the same thing. The problem is where they're at right then. And yes, they probably have an addiction. I haven't met too many of them that don't have an addiction at first, or they're dabbling with it. If you catch them fast enough, then they're not addicted. They're just playing around with it because they have to, or they want to, or, well, I got nothing else to do with my life, kind of a thing.
If you can stabilize them and get them comfortable, get them a place where they know they're safe, does that addiction normally subside, or is it a little harder to get rid of that? Even if
I
you
say
get them on their
80%
feet?
of the population would subside.
80%.
80%. There is 20% that's just going to do the passive aggressive behavior. Oh,
Just
yeah,
do
I got a
drugs 'cause they
safe
wanna
place
do
to do it,
drugs.
and I'm just going to do drugs.
Yeah.
But what if we had the concept where we actually believed that their tent was their home? And I have friends that actually drink before they go home to their family and kids to have dinner. They go to stop off at the bar to have a drink with the buddies. Why am I going to... See, this is the problem that I have. I think like real people. It's like, this tent is your home, and what you do inside your tent is your business. If you come out into the community and you cause a disruptance and you're high and stuff, now you've caused a problem. But I'm not going to tell you, I wouldn't tell you what to do in your house. And if this tent is the only housing they have, then why can't we look at it that way? Okay, you're staying in your tent. So if I created a campground and, can't smoke weed here or anything, but what if they did? What if after work, they got done work, they had a beer and smoked a joint, and they stayed in their tent and went to sleep, and they got up in the morning and went to work? Do we really have a problem? I don't think so. Is it teaching them, I'm still trying to quit smoking. It's the hardest thing I've ever tried to quit in my life. I have a past also. I was homeless at one period of time back in the mid 80s. Actually, before the mid 80s, probably the early 80s. But we have to start looking at people, and if we want them to believe that we respect them, then we have to show some type of respect. If I created a campground that had 15 tents in it, and they're all working and stuff for a living and stuff and trying to earn enough money to move up to another level, maybe Betty's Container Village or something like that, it's like, why wouldn't you give them that little space? Why would you say, oh, abstinence only, which is what most people want from the upper government? It's like, is it really that bad? I don't drink or smoke pot or anything, but I do smoke cigarettes and drink a lot of coffee. Are you going to tell me I can't do that in my house?
Well, the distinction that we draw is weird, right? Because like you said, we allow alcohol, which is a drug. We allow caffeine, which is a drug. We now allow weed. but then we say, okay, no coke or no heroin or no these other things. And I think it's because it's easier to track bad examples with those ones. And we just look at that and say, okay, this is where we're going to draw that line.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay with these ones because they're more socially acceptable. More people do them. More people are currently using them. So, and
Yeah.
if you use these ones, you're probably going to be able to keep your life on the straight track, which I don't think fully tracks because there are people that drink themselves to death.
There's not too many people that work for me that have tried to do IV use, kept on going, or meth. Those are the two prime examples. They usually bow out quick. They can't handle it. So I don't think we actually have to worry about them doing that in their tents. It's mostly the alcohol, smoking cigarettes, the
Which is
pot.
what everybody's already doing.
Yes, they're already doing it, but now because you're homeless and we're giving you this tent, we're telling you can't.
Well, I think it's because the line of thinking is that you've done something wrong to get where you are. So now somebody else has to step in and guide your life because you have proven in some way that you can't be responsible for yourself.
Right, and that's the biggest crapshoot I've ever heard, because that is what a lot of people say. And sometimes, the same reason why we can't figure out one specific thing is because maybe this was inevitable. You
Unavoidable.
Unavoidable. Excuse me. I make up my own words
I
sometimes.
do that all the time on here. Welcome to the club.
But, it's sometimes things happen. They just don't, like, I'm going to wake up this morning, I'm going to be a drug addict. No, that doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes it's a simple experiment, a kid experimenting with drugs that gets hooked on stuff. We used to think that before with kids, but we can't foresee that with a homeless person because we have to fix that homeless person because they're broke. Well, maybe they're not broke. Maybe they're just worn down and we just have to shine them up a little bit. I've actually proved that it works, but we still want to think that they're broke. I've never met a person that was broke except for the extremely mentally ill one that's broke. The other ones all have had choices and have done their own choices. Nobody's forcing somebody to shove a needle in their arm, and then, yeah, it's a really weird situation. Let's put it that way.
Does mental illness follow the same path? Where if you're not mentally ill before you become homeless, you're probably going to develop something in that environment?
Well, that's the exposure part, the loss of hope and faith and not really knowing how to navigate the waters of being homeless. That could create anxiety and depression, which could lead into other forms of mental illness. If nothing else, anxiety and depression is pretty bad by itself.
What about more extreme cases like schizophrenia? Is that pretty
I've
common?
seen induced schizophrenia from drugs. I've had employees that have been schizophrenic. I've never seen. I had this one young lady that's, to me, was the most amazing person I've ever met, and she worked for me, and I've learned so much about schizophrenia from her, but also the fact of trying to figure out how she controls it so much. Because you've seen other people walking down the road screaming, yelling at their, talking to themselves. But this young lady who had the extreme case was able to control, but she said she had it from a very young age, and then she grew up with it through the years and learned how to deal with it versus just going crazy. She actually can relate to a lot of the individuals we have in the Valley West Shopping Center. We have a couple women there that are totally schizophrenic and they're just yelling and screaming and stuff. But, we'll walk up and she'll start talking with them and everything calms down.
How do you help the ones that are, I don't know if you would say too far gone, but are just way down the rabbit hole, especially with schizophrenia? Because you can't just put them, obviously, in a housing unit by themselves because it's just going to be a disaster.
Me, myself, I can't fix anybody like that, if they're too far down with drugs and mental illness, you basically there's not much I can do about it.
Is there anything
Usually
anyone can do?
they don't sting. Well, you would hope as much money as we dump into mental health and
But do we
substance
have anything
treatment.
that's tangible that is actually helping them, in your opinion, or no? They're just kind of left out there.
I can't answer that because I don't know everything, but there sure is a lot of them walking around that should be swooped up and helped. But because legal rights, the person has the right to kill themselves and destroy themselves, I guess. I don't know. Why are these individuals that can't care for themselves, that can barely dress, that are matted and their fingernails are so long and they're just why are they still walking around the roads? Why haven't we swooped them up and put them in a place where they can benefit? I don't know the answer.
I think it's because of the insane asylum aspect of our history. I think we were too far on one side where we just scooped everybody up and treated them like
The
shit.
pendulum.
Yeah, and now we're too far to the left where we don't help anybody.
I love it. I guess because I'm a Libra, I always thought about this pendulum. It's either we go fully extreme or not.
Mm-hmm.
We never get to that middle part where we stop. The middle ground. It's either everything or nothing. I don't get it. There's so many people out there, and I know we go back to Ronald Reagan kicking everybody out of the mental health hospitals, which really happened, but that also created a set of rules where you can't confine anybody. But to my last knowledge, suicide is against the law. I thought. Isn't suicide against the law? You're not supposed to kill yourself? I mean, I'm not sure how they do anything
I don't know.
about
I
it,
know
but
some states you can do assisted suicide, but I think it has to be for medical.
I just don't understand why
reason.
these individuals are walking the street when basically they just cause a major disturbance. They usually end up walking out into traffic. They,
It's just a bad situation.
yeah. And I don't have an answer for it. I mean, I'm not trying. I scratch my head like everybody else does. Like, why are they out here? They can't take care of themselves. They're gonna die. They are dying. You could see it. There's a one gentleman that has this long red hair that looks pretty much dead.
I've seen him a couple times.
Yeah, I see him pretty much everywhere I go, and it's like, why? Why is he still out here? Why have these other people? We have the same young ladies over there in Valley West area. They can't take care of themselves. They're running around half naked. Yeah.